Stern.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wondered for a second. Well, first, I really just want to support the presentation that was made by the member from Northwest St. Catherine. I wondered for a second whether or not persons in the House have anybody in their family or anywhere in their close setting that suffers from addiction. Have you anybody inside of your family or close friend of your family that suffers from addiction? If you have anybody of that nature within your family, then you might be interested in knowing that gambling disorder or pathological compulsive gambling is a recognized mental health condition. Recognized mental health condition that is characterized by uncontrollable, repetitive betting despite severe negative financial, social, and health consequences. It is classified as a behavioral addiction similar to substance-related disorders. So the regulations need to be a little bit more detailed here in relation to how you treat with those individuals. Now, for an individual to be allowed to use a credit card to gamble is a recipe for disaster. It should be clear that that is not allowed. I think we all can agree to that. Because debt is a terrible master. If you go to scripture in Proverbs 22 and verse 7, the King James Version, it says that the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. So, what is not a trivial point. Not a trivial point. It's not a trivial point. No, what I'm saying, it's not a trivial point. If you get caught up in gambling in your 20s, then you have sufficient time to recover. But if you get caught up in gambling and you go into debt in your 40s, in your 50s, it's going to destroy your retirement. We already have a society that doesn't teach financial literacy. And so the majority of persons are already not in a position where they would have made sufficient provision for their retirement. And we therefore have to assist in protecting them against these arms that are out there. The Minister of Health is right there. He can tell you about mental health conditions in the country and the need for greater protection to be provided to those persons. So essentially what I'm asking here, Minister, is that we go a little bit further in providing protection for those persons who have an addiction. The persons who use it as an eye-opener. There's a cage question that we use to check re-addiction. It's an acronym. The C is if you feel like you want to cut down, limit your participation. The A is if you get annoyed when people ask you about it. And the G is if you feel guilty. And the E is if you use it as an eye-opener. So you get up in the morning, it's the first thing that you want to do. Right? It's a quick way of screening persons. Now, clearly, it would also be worthwhile to allow family members to be able to intervene, because the person who is addicted normally does not agree that they have an addiction, you know. And what will invariably happen is that they think that every other hand is going to be the winning hand. Right? That's all right. So
point of clarification. I'm using the privilege as was used by the member from St. Anne Southeast. Member, the framework of the whole management of casino gaming in Jamaica does require the casino operator, as I had said in my initial presentation, but to clarify even more, to manage in such a way that the gamer must register and their use of the facility is monitored. And there are minimum standards which set a trigger that would help for quick intervention were there to be any detection of self-abuse or addictive behavior. So there are mechanisms in place. Now, these might be debatable from the point of view of a medical standard versus, you know, any other kinds of standard, but it is not sufficient. It is not fair to say that provisions are not in place. Provisions are in place.
The member from St. Catherine Northwest, and then we go back to the member from, are you finished, member from Westmoreland Eastern? Okay, go ahead, member from St. Catherine Northwest. No, he wants a further clarification. Go ahead. Who are you asking for the clarification? Who are you asking for the clarification, member?
Yes.
Who are you asking for
I'm
the clarification?
offering clarification.
Oh, you are
about
offering. That's what you were not clear on.
Okay, I'm offering clarification.
So, member from St.
the-
Catherine Northwest intervention is to offer further clarification.
None of us on this side is indicating that there's been no mention of problem gambling. What we are indicating is that the issue is so grave that the simplicity of the mention and treatment, especially to leave it to the observation of a person motivated by profit, is not sufficient. That there are others with better motives that could have been included unless there is a limitation on space. So but we are saying the third party is a family member living with the person and nothing has been in there. Is a 81 page, I think it was, document. Why is it that these things are impossible to make it 81 and a half pages? I think that it is an unfortunate thing to continue with just the profit seekers to regulate.
members, I believe, as opposed to turn this into a contentious matter, I think fundamentally we all agree that should somebody have an addiction, that person should be dealt with, and so we can spare themselves and their families a further harm. Because ultimately, if persons are in financial ruin, especially as they get older, some of them will contemplate and carry out suicide. That is a reality, you know. So I am not saying that the regulations are totally inadequate. I don't think anybody is saying that. I'm just simply saying that we should go a little bit further in relation to treating with persons who are addicted, so that we prevent the natural sequelae that will come about if we do not address it. I don't want to come back here to say, I told you so in this matter. I don't want to. So let us deal with the matter from now to prevent the harm in the future to those persons.
Minister Williams?
Yes, Madam Speaker, just to respond to that last point from the last speaker and to close in general, The Casino Gaming Commission that has been in existence now for several years has a very robust program called Responsible Gaming. And I am sure as the industry begins to grow and evolve, you will see these programs evolve as well. I just want to say, Madam Speaker, that in listening to the questions and the comments from the other side, what I note is that they throw up issues that are already dealt with in the regulation. So, for instance, more than one speaker has made a big deal about the casino credit. But if you go to the provision of credit to patrons, part 4, 28.1, it goes through in great detail that, for example, a casino operator shall not grant credit to an employee holding a senior managerial or executive position at the casino. That's very detailed. A casino operator shall not offer any form of monetary compensation, commission, or reward to any person calculated by reference to the number of credit application or the value of any success. It goes through in great detail as it speaks to casino credit, as it speaks to credit policy, as it speaks to credit agreement. In fact, it is prescriptive. It even talks about the fact that the credit limits should be applicable to different classes of patrons. So there is a lot in the Act and in the regulation to allow us to begin the development of this industry and to know that we have the strictures in place as the industry evolves. I also want to say as well that there was a question earlier on, I think from the member from St. Andrew Southeast, questioning, where do we model this regulation from, right? There are many jurisdictions, but then another member over that side gets up and talk about, oh, you guys are just importing from outside of Jamaica. You guys are confused. Yes. There are many in, sure, countries like Singapore, several, yes, in developing the act and the regulations, the technical persons looked at many countries. I'm trying to find the list here. Multiple jurisdictions, and they looked at best practice and they ensured that they tailor those to the Jamaican context. So yes, they did look at multiple jurisdictions. There was a question to do with, is there any IRD granted? Has there been any IRD granted? And one application was received. There's no gaming license that has been issued yet, and we have one application so far. With regards to the large-scale pioneering industry, yes, a committee to review application is in place. Has the government of Jamaica fulfilled all its requirements to Tavistock? That agreement is still in place, and we are working on it. It was only recently, within the last several months, that the legislation was passed here in Parliament, and I know we have a number of things set out that we have to walk through, that we have to do to complete, but we are working closely with them to ensure that those, or that we fulfill our obligation as well as on their side as well. So, Madam Speaker, I'd like to conclude the debate on the bill and ask for the bill to be read. Hold on. Hold on. Ask for the motion to be approved. Madam Speaker, I now move that the motion, notice of which was given on the 3rd day of February 2026, be approved.
The question is that the motion, notice of which was given earlier, be approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House Leader?
Yes, Madam Speaker, we'll go back to public business matter that treats with the reports from the
House Leader, a moment, please. House Leader?
Yes, Madam Speaker, we're almost there. We just have two more matters to treat with. We had concluded the debate on we had suspended the debate on the Income Tax Act just for the Minister of Finance to have some consultation based on the matters that were raised. That has been concluded. So we'll ask the Minister of Finance to now conclude the debate, and we will carry through the stages. Then we will move into our reports from the Ethics Committee.
Minister of Finance?
Madam Speaker, I wish to conclude the debate on the bill and ask for the bill to be read a second time.
The question is that the bill be read a second time. Those in favor? That's the income tax bill. Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill entitled An Act to Amend the Income Tax Act read a second time.
The House will now resolve itself into a committee of the whole House. The House is now in committee. The House will review the bill clause by clause. Minister of Finance, you will guide.
Madam Speaker, I have two amendments. In clause 2, Madam Speaker, I ask that we delete subclause C and substitute therefore the following. C.
Minister, the clauses that you have amendments for would be clause 2 and which other clause? Don't tell us what the amendment is as yet, Minister.
The memorandum of objects and reasons.
Okay, and the memo. So one amendment really. So one amendment. So Minister, we will start from clause 1 and then we will deal with the amendment to clause 2, in which case, if there are no objections from any member of the committee, we will then take clause 3 to 5 as there are no amendments and the title and enacting clause. Oh, you do. On which one? 4? Okay. And then we take it from there. All right. So members, I put clause 1. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister, clause 2, please repeat the amendment.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. For clause 2, I ask that we delete subclause C and substitute therefore the following. C by inserting next after subsection 1C 4B as amended, the following as subsection 1C 4C. At C, with effect from November 1, 2025, any payment for a period specified by notice made by the minister and published in the Gazette not exceeding in the aggregate $200,000 or such other sum as may be prescribed by the minister by order, subject to affirmative resolution in the House of Representatives, which is paid by an employer to an employee for personal recovery and welfare due to loss or damage suffered from the effects of a public disaster declared by proclamation made by the Governor General in respect of an event referred to Section 22C of the Constitution of Jamaica, or a hazard which is the subject of an order under Section 26 of the Disaster Risk Management Act. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Opposition Leader?
Madam Chairman, it really would have been desirable to see a written version of that amendment so we could look at it. It's quite lengthy, but it doesn't
Opposition Leader, let me share.
I'd be grateful. It doesn't seem to prescribe in it
Mr.
or permit
we need a couple copies of the written amendment, please.
it doesn't seem to provide in it for the ministerial order to prescribe the period during which this payment would have to be made in order to receive the benefit of the exemption. It just says, with effect from November 1 last year, any period, it says for a period. Shouldn't that mean within a period? It's within a period, surely. I don't know what payment for a period specified, but it's really. Yeah. Yeah, I think that the word for should be replaced by the word within, because essentially what this is saying is that the minister would make a notice which would specify what the limit is on the amount of the relief and what period the payment must be made within in order to qualify for the relief. And then you would have a regime that could be updated from time to time by virtue of ministerial orders, which would have to come here for affirmative resolution. So it's a big improvement. I just think the word for in line 2 of the new clause should be the word within. It's not a payment for a period, it's a payment within us. Just as it in the current bill, it's a period between November 1 and March 31. That's the period that the payment must be made within in order to qualify.
I put clause 2 as amended. Or Minister, do you want to say something first?
Sure, or my technical persons has advised that we leave it as is with the 4.
I put clause 2 as amended. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. I put clause 3. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. Clause 4, the member Robinson would like to comment.
Minister, I raised this in my comments on the bill. This is clause 4B5. In essence, what this is saying is that somebody who has filed and has an unpaid balance and indicates that they have an unpaid balance is automatically going to be the subject of a notice of assessment. Now, you didn't answer it?
Your answer was insufficient.
Sorry, well, tell me what the answer is, because I didn't hear your answer. So if you can clarify that.
Minister?
It's not, the person will not be assessed. It's more looking at the collection date rather than an assessment date here. It's not about assessment, it's about the collection.
Member Golding?
Yeah. You know, we are trying to encourage people to be tax compliant and to file their returns. Now, if you file a return and at that time you don't pay the entirety of what your self-assessed tax liability is, so there's some balance that isn't settled on that date. What this is saying is if that person the unpaid balance shall be treated as if it had been the subject of a notice of assessment. And a notice of assessment is an act typically by the TAJ assessing a taxpayer, and certain legal consequences flow from a notice of assessment having been served. So I think the member's point is correct. I don't know. The answer is very unclear about it's a form of collection. I don't know what that means. But you're triggering a deemed notice of assessment from the very fact that there was not a complete settlement of the entire tax balance on the date you file the returns.
Remember, I'm advised that the section is really creating a deemed collection date, not a deemed assessment.
So, House Leader, you want to intervene, House Leader?
No, so I was just saying, to follow up on the Minister of Finance, there's no ambiguity with the provision. The provision is extremely clear, right, and is what it sets out. So, we may not, it's very clear. That's all I have to say.
But but the question, Madam Chair, what is the policy? Why are we saying that if somebody files their returns and just because there's a portion of that they have not settled on the date they file their returns, maybe they don't have the funding available at that moment, there's a deemed notice of assessment served on them for that sum. Why are we going that draconian way forward with this? Yeah, yeah.
Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker, the further clarification is that when you declare your income, and if you do not pay in full taxes that are due, whatever is remaining, you will be treated as assessed, but you have time, and that's what the amendment here says. You have time, in the case of a person other than a body corporate, specifying as collection date the 15th day of March next, following the end of the year of assessment. So you would have time to pay the balance if you haven't paid in full. Yeah.
Man, the effect of that is that you're in the system as a delinquent. A notice of assessment will have been deemed to have been served on you, and all the legal regime around tax collection applies to you from that moment. I don't see how that does anything other than disincentivizes people from filing or underreporting their income so that their tax liability matches whatever money they happen to have at the moment when they file. To me, it's a strange policy to be pursuing. I can see from one angle that it's convenient to say, well, you deem this to be a notice of assessment, so we can, the full force of what that means. Which is, this whole thing about giving you time is really, to my mind, a euphemism. Having a notice of assessment having been served or deemed to have been served has legal consequences attached to it. And that's what the position you're putting people in. If they file, which if they didn't file, they wouldn't be in that position. So it doesn't make sense.
There's another intervention from the member from St. Catherine, South, Northwest.
All right. Yeah, but I am supporting the point made that it serves really as a.
If you don't have a different point that you're making,
yeah, I have a different point too.
Well, make the point that
I will do that. Yeah,
no, man.
Yeah, we're at committee, right?
No. You don't want to be repeating the point, though. Nothing is wrong in supporting. No. Member.
Well, no, we have done a long time. Yes, but you know the intent is clearly not being satisfied by the clause, because a person who is finding financial cash flow difficulties is inspired, is motivated to either file what they have, which is an underfiling, or to delay filing until they have the funding. So what is the intent of this particular thing other than, as indicated, to create a easier method of bullying?
Madam Speaker, I disagree with the view that has been put of it, because clearly we start from a position that taxes are legally due, right? So we start from that position. So the concept of not filing or not doing anything and nothing happened, us in this house cannot put forward that position. So let us start from there. This is a case in which somebody self-assesses, and then on their self-assessment, they pay a portion thereof. What this is saying is that you now have, under this act, the portion that is left, automatically it becomes a notice of assessment. So it codifies what is left that has to be paid. Remember, you have indicated the taxes that you are to pay. If you do not so do, the other avenue is that the tax authorities do an assessment of you. So what this does is that upon what you have indicated, what you have not paid, so you have indicated, but you've only paid a part, you now have until the 15th of March in the following year to pay what you say is left to be paid. No. If you do not so do, then the tax office and the tax authority has the legal authority to move on the notice of assessment, but it actually makes it easier for one to comply and actually gives latitude. And that is because, again, the options that you have proposed are not filing, right? That's the option that you have proposed. And I'm saying, no, but I'm saying in this regime, it codifies what you have said. Remember, the other avenue the tax authority has is that you have been self-declared. They can then do their own assessment of you, which may amount to more that would then form the basis of the notice of assessment. The basis of this notice of assessment is what you say to the tax authority that is due to them. It does make it easier. That's my view of it.
Chairman, 2 points. It's not just you get time to pay. Interest accrues at draconian rates for that period. Don't forget that. Secondly, this is an issue, an important issue. There's no hint of it in the Memorandum of Objects and Reasons for this bill. The memorandum of this very short bill has 3 major things it's doing. Only 2 of them are reflected in the Memorandum of Objects and Reasons, and the underlying rationale for this provision is not explained. And I think that's unfortunate. The reality is that this is changing the legal status of a taxpayer in a way which that didn't exist before. March 15th is the deadline. We have to file our returns. When we file our returns, we have to pay the tax. On the 15th, or interest starts to accrue. What this does is add a further element to it, which is that there's a deemed notice of assessment for any unpaid balance. And that puts you in a completely different regime now, which didn't exist before. And I think it's important. And I think it's in a generally non-compliant environment, or low compliant, let us say, a low compliant environment. Anything that may say to somebody who is not in a position to settle their liability, you know, are better off not filing, even though it's my legal obligation to file, is the wrong incentive. Anyway, we've made our points, and I think the minister is not persuaded by them, so be it, ma'am.
Minister, it's for you to close. What say you in respect of this clause?
Madam Speaker, please, I acknowledge what the leader of the opposition and the member have said, but I'm going to ask you to put the clause, Madam Speaker.
I put clause 4. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I put clause 5. Those in favor? Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I put the title and enacting clause. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Though the memorandum does not form a part of the bill, the amendment, Income Tax Amendment Act, I direct those who have a copy to read, Minister.
There's an amendment
To the memorandum. Yeah.
Okay. So, Madam Speaker, for the Memorandum of Objects and Reasons, we want to delete the first paragraph and substitute, therefore, the following. This bill seeks to amend the Income Tax Act and the Income Tax Employment Regulations to facilitate a relief support regime that allows for a non-taxable treatment of disaster relief honorarium made by employers to employees during periods in which a declaration of disaster has been issued pursuant to Section 20 of the Constitution of Jamaica, or on the occurrence of a hazard, which is the subject of an order under Section 26 of the Disaster Risk Management Act. The government recognized the need for the implementation of this policy as another important response to the needs brought on by Hurricane Melissa. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Chair, if I may just comment on that. It's interesting that in the Memorandum on Objects and Reasons amended paragraph, it uses the word during periods, which is exactly what I said should have been in the amendment in the bill itself, instead of 4 periods. So we now have the bill speaking in language that I think is incorrect and imprecise, which is talks about the 4 periods, whereas the new memorandum on objects and reasons uses the correct language, and that doesn't make sense.
Members, just from an abundance of caution, just out of an abundance of caution, members, I am going to put again clauses 1, 3, 4, 5. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I am sure I'd put clause 2. I want to ensure that what I do is to put clause 2 as amended. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I'm not sure I'd put it as amended. And in conclusion, I now state the question is that I report the bill as having passed committee stage with 1 amendment. That's the amendment to clause 2. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Marshall? Being back in the House, I do report the bill as having passed committee stage with 1 amendment. Minister?
Madam Speaker, I now ask that the bill be read a 3rd time.
The question is that the bill be read a 3rd time. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Clark?
A bill entitled An Act to Amend the Income Tax Act read a 3rd time and passed.
House Leader?
Madam Speaker, we will now take the reports from the Ethics Committee.
Chair of the Ethics Committee, Member Malahoo Ford.
Madam Speaker, the reports of the committee are before the House. I do not know if the reports will be debated. I now move for suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion notice of which I gave earlier.
I put the question. Those in favor? Those are, no.
Madam Speaker.
Those against? Who asked? I'm putting the question, suspending the standing order. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Apparently, member
Stage, we would either embark on a debate on the report or we would adopt the report. I do not know if anyone has any contribution to make.
Madam Speaker.
here that there is a member who has a contribution to make on the debate. The member from St. Andrew West Rural.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand in light of the motion that was raised. On the motion, in light of what was raised regarding member from East Central St. Andrew and Jack, then the company, the report tabled concerning the member, Madam Speaker, I'm asking that this be recommitted to the Ethics Committee for further deliberation before the motion is approved. Madam Speaker, a question in the meeting was asked by the chairman of the committee that was not answered regarding Jack then, and from an article that I read, some new information has been received that would require further deliberation on the motion regarding the company in question. Madam Speaker, the Ethics Committee of the Parliament is the responsible body for upholding and monitoring and also enforcing conflicts for legislators to ensure integrity and accountability. And It also investigates allegations of misconduct by members of parliament for unethical behavior. And with this, Madam Speaker, and in light of what I read in the article regarding Jack Den, on the Auditor General's report, I ask that this tabled motion be recommitted to the Ethics Committee for further deliberation.
Opposition leader of business.
Madam Speaker, I really am standing in total amazement that a member of the Ethics Committee that would have sat, that would have asked questions, that signs a report recommending the approval. It says here, Madam Speaker, your committee examined the motion for exemption brought on behalf of the member and recommends that exemption be granted. I think probably anybody else could raise an issue, but not that member who is a member of the committee. So I ask, Madam Speaker, that we put this matter to the vote for approval.
Madam Speaker, yes, I am a member of that Ethics Committee.
Member, you can't tell the member to just sit down, please. Member, I just want to caution you that the I want to caution you that the meetings of the Ethics Committee is in camera. So I would not say or give any details of the discussions in the meeting. So you can continue with your intervention without referring to anything that was discussed therein. No, because there is an issue, she's just responding.
Listen, Madam Speaker.
Let her come in.
Madam Speaker, if I may.
Go ahead, member. Go ahead.
Madam Speaker, the member having spoken on the motion cannot speak again. I sat and listened, and after the member finished her presentation, I spoke. I will not speak again because that is the order of the standing order.
Madam Speaker, the member having spoken has made 2 points. The committee report is before us, and the committee having met and having come to a certain position, that report is before us, right? And we have to proceed based on the report that the committee has made. The member has also raised that she believes that the ethics committee...
House Leader, remember there are 3 reports before us.
Yeah, I'm speaking specifically. She spoke specifically in relation to one report, and that report is in relation to the member from East Central St. Andrew. The member has also raised that based on information that has come to her via the press after the meeting, she believes that ethical issues have been raised that the ethics committee should look into. That is a separate matter. So I say that to say 2 things. The exemption motion having come, the member has spoken on the debate of the exemption motion to raise a point which the House will ultimately, and the chair of the ethics committee will ultimately have to look into, because again, the standing orders does outline that these are matters for the ethics committee, do outline that these are matters, but it is raised on the debate. So outside of that, the debate, the matter having been brought, the committee having met, that doesn't determine the outcome of the matter. So I wanted to separate those two matters. You know, one matter is before us to proceed, but the member has raised a point on that debate.
So members, just so that everyone is clear, once a report comes, very often they're just accepted en bloc. Even though the member signed the report, the member is saying that having had a meeting, having a report from the committee to the House, we will vote on accepting the report en bloc or rejecting the report en bloc. That is for the House. So that's one. And both leader of government business and opposition quite correct in that regard. So that's the first vote. However, the member is effectively also stating that in her debate on this, she's asking that the member and the company which the member is associated with be referred to the ethics committee again based on additional information that has come to her attention. So we will first vote on accepting the report, and then we will, and then it's not before the House. That's exactly. And then the member would be required to bring a motion to the House referring the member to the ethics committee for further deliberation and consideration going forward. And members, this is important because there are implications for how we function in the House if issues of this nature are raised. Right, so members, in respect of adoption of the report from the Ethics Committee, those in favor, those against, the ayes have it. And member, the clerk will give guidance as it relates to bringing your motion. No, yours, okay too, all three, which is why I reminded.
Madam Speaker, I want to recommit notice of motions given orally.
The question, yes, the question is that we recommit notices of motions given orally. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it, House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Be it resolved with reference to the resolution approved by this Honorable House on October 21, 2025, appointing a Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, that the name Damian Crawford be removed from the membership of the committee, and that the name Alfred Dawes be substituted thereof. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice.
House, it depends on what you want him for. Members, the House is a serious place. So are you asking for a vote, and are you asking for a divide, or are you playing around?
We don't reach, no. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Be it resolved, with reference to the sessional joint select and select committees which are appointed in the current session of Parliament, and where these committees have not completed their deliberations, that in the new session of Parliament, this Honourable House be empowered to enable these committees to proceed with the issues referred to them from the stage reached before prorogation. Be it further resolved that the composition of all these committees remain unchanged except where necessary by further motion taken and approved by this honorable House. And be it further resolved with reference to the matters identified below, which are included in the order of business in this session of Parliament, but for which deliberations have not been completed, that in the new session of Parliament, the House be empowered to proceed with them from the stage reach before prorogation. A bill entitled An Act to Establish a Regulatory Framework for Shared Communities to Allow Oversight by the Real Estate Board for the use of and operation of common property to provide for the regulation of the rights and obligations of the proprietors and for collected matters. 2. Private members' motion number 8. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion. They're trying to.
Public business. House Leader, public business.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion appointing a Public Administration Appropriations Committee, the removal of the name Damian Crawford from the membership of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, and that the name Alfred Dawes be substituted thereof, notice of which I gave earlier.
The question is that the standing orders be suspended to enable the minister to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, I now move that the motion, notice of which I gave earlier, be approved.
The question is that the motion, notice of which was given earlier, be approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, I ask for the recommittal of notice of motions given oral. Yeah, I know. I'm going to amend the carry.
Question is that we recommit notice of motion given orally. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I am withdrawing the motion read earlier. I want to thank for the avoidance of doubt, Leader of the Opposition. I'm going to include. Yeah. So I withdraw the motion given earlier, and Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Be it resolved with the reference to the sessional select, joint select, and select committees which are appointed in the current session of Parliament, and where these committees have not completed their deliberations, that in the new session of Parliament, this Honourable House be empowered to enable these committees to proceed with the issues referred to them from the stage reach before prorogation. Be it further resolved that the composition of all these committees remain unchanged, except where necessary by further motion taken and approved by this Honourable House. And be it further resolved with reference to the matters identified below, which are included in the order of business in this session of Parliament, but for which deliberations have not yet been completed, that in the new session of Parliament, the House be empowered to proceed with them from the stage reach before prorogation. 1. A bill entitled An Act to Establish a Regulatory Framework for Shared Communities to Allow Oversight by the Real Estate Board for the use of and operation of common property to provide for the regulation of the rights and obligations of the proprietors and for concerned matters. 2. Private members' motion number 8. 3. The assets tax specified bodies Amendment Act 2026, 4, the Income Tax Amendment Act 2026, and 5, the Casino Gaming General Regulations 2025. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice as at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Members, I first put to you the withdrawal of the carryover motion. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I now put to you the new motion as read by House Leader. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House Leader, public business. We're always in public business in a House Leader.
Speaker, you have to suspend the standing orders to enable me to take the motion first.
Members, the question is that the standing orders be suspended to allow for the taking of the motion, notice of which the minister gave earlier. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, I now ask that the motion be approved.
The question is that the motion be approved. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, it is not intended to do any further business today. I remind the members of the House that we start a new parliamentary term on Thursday, a new parliamentary session on Thursday, and as such, we look forward to seeing all the members out early so that we can get going early. And I remind the members of the invitations that they have been issued in relation to the activity in between the sessions. And remind members that after the start of the parliamentary term, that we return at 2 p.m. that day for the tabling of the estimate of expenditures.
House Leader, members, if you, some of the times we need to make sure that we are hearing what is happening so that we are properly informed. We had some challenges at the last ceremonial opening. So in addition to what House Leader said, we are being asked to be guided in the event that we are not here at or before the time we are due to be here. There would be procedures that would limit our access until after the time slot for other activities take place. Like when the Governor General comes and some of us are here after or just at the same time. So we would not be able to proceed until after that segment is completed. I hope everyone understands the point. Members, the question is that we now do adjourn the next meeting of the House being set Thursday at 2 p.m. For a date to be fixed? For a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This Honorable House now stands adjourned.
We want a piece for Jamaica. Yeah. Yo, what are you? Man, no, brother, no, man, mash it back. You know, you ain't play dirty game, yeah, but that's a bad game. No, I said, person to come from, brother, I want to live good, man. I want to live good, brethren. No shake on, I can play a little bad, brethren. Really appreciate it? Yeah, man, and no badness, brethren, just live good, man. I make the violence go.
Peace is a choice we make every day. When we come together with love and understanding, we create a future free of violence and fear. Let's stand united, build bridges, and nurture hope for our children and our communities.
Once upon a time in a Caribbean island known for its rich culture, natural beauty, lived a group of people who were buried in piles and piles and more piles of paper. Papers spanning back to the start of time. Then came a bright idea, harnessing technology to work smarter and not harder. The government of Jamaica is improving its operations to serve citizens better. Many services are now available online, and there's more to come. The government of Jamaica, building a better public sector for all.
Yo, babes, why me I call you so much time and I not get you? Sorry, I lick you again yesterday. Yo, I know I mess up, but I can't wear them something there road and I expect me to react. I know I'm jealous and fool and easy to lose my temper, but call me back here. Still not get tired. Hey, girl, think me have to call your phone? You know who you deal with? You think I want to lick me again next time? Eh?
It doesn't have to be this way. You can leave an abusive relationship. Just call 876-553-0372. We will help you.
I now declare the 7th Annual Coffee Festival planning and arrangements duly in place. 1, 2, 3.
It is now my joy and my pleasure to declare this second historic Global Tourism Resilience Day duly established.
Today marks a pivotal moment in the realm of Jamaica's tourism as we unveil a brand new American Airlines flight route to a breathtaking and culturally rich destination.
This, of course, is the 7th renewal of the Jamaica Coffee Festival, which I inaugurated. And I'm excited about the fact that we created something that has made it possible to showcase the varied, the deep, the wide, the elongated value chain of coffee in Jamaica. We were able in the first 2 months of the year to bring 1 million visitors to Jamaica and earn $1 billion. Now, that is a record that has never happened in the history of Jamaica.
We have put $500 million from the Tourism Enhancement Fund that the JHTA and the tourism partners have now agreed that they will come in and match so we can provide as much as 100 little houses for tourism workers.
Hey! Oh! Not an ordinary town. It rides on the wheel of the crown.
Ladies and gentlemen, all, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence at this very historic ribbon cutting and opening of an arena for the showcasing of your products. But it also is a marketplace because what it does is to bring buyers and sellers together. We formed a new team chaired by Dr. Kerry Wallace to be guided by the team headed by Wilfred Bagaloo to establish the Jamaica Tourism Supplies Logistics Hub. In an effort to build back these livelihoods and support the recovery of the Jamaican people, the Ministry of Tourism is advising that $2 million of the spruce up allocation, we are allowing members of parliament within the southern area where the damages have been greatest to use $2 million of the for relief activities.
After 3, 1, 2, 3.
It is truly a pleasure to welcome you today as we gather to unveil this magnificent mural in celebration of Tourism Awareness Week and Tourism Awareness Day.
Here is an airline, a very young airline, 3 years old, that has chosen yet again Jamaica as the destination for their first international flight.
The fact that this flight inaugurated today in Jamaica signals a very important part of the linking that particular chain, which will then enable regional connectivity and the realization of multi-destination tourism is critical.
Yo, babes, why me I call you so much time and I not get you? Sorry, me lick you again yesterday. Yo, me know me mess up, but I can't wear them something there road and I expect me to react. I know I'm jealous and fool and easy to lose my temper, but call me back here.
Still not get tired.
Hey, girl, think me have to call your phone? You know who you deal with? You think I want to lick me again next time? Eh?
It doesn't have to be this way. You can leave an abusive relationship. Just call 876-553-0372. We will help you.
Hey, just a reminder, your mental health is just as important as your physical health. If you're feeling overwhelmed, try talking to a trusted friend or family member. You don't have to go through it alone. Sometimes sharing your feelings can make a big difference. If you need more support, don't hesitate to reach out to the Health and Wellness Ministry's Suicide Prevention Helpline at 888-NEW-LIFE. That's 888-639-5433. Remember, it's okay to ask for help. Your feelings matter, and there are people ready to listen. Take care of yourself. You deserve it.
We want a piece for Jamaica. Yeah. Yo, what are you? Man, none of that. No, brother, no, man, mash up that. You ever play dirty game? Yeah, but that's a bad game. No, I said, person to come from, brother, I want to live good, man. I want to live good, brethren. No shake hand, I can play a little bad, brethren. Really appreciate that? Yeah, man, and no badness, brethren. Just live good, man. I make the violence go.
Peace is a choice we make every day. When we come together with love and understanding, we create a future free of violence and fear. Let's stand united, build bridges, and nurture hope for our children and our communities.
Reggae facts. Jamaica has had many reggae songs topping the UK singles chart. The first was Israelites by Desmond Dekker and the Aces in April 1969. The second reggae song to top the UK chart was Double Barrel by Dave and Ansel Collins in May 1971. Other Jamaican songs which held the top spot include Everything I Own by Ken Booth in 1974, Uptown Top Ranking by Althea and Donna in 1978, I Wanna Wake Up With You, Boris Gardner, 1986, Twist and Shout by Chakademus and Pliers featuring Jack Radix in 1994, Breathe by Blue Cantrell featuring Sean Paul in 2003, What About Us by The Saturdays featuring Sean Paul in 2013, Cheerleader by Omi in 2015, and Rockabye by Clean Bandit featuring Sean Paul and Anne-Marie in 2016. Now, Shaggy has had the most number one hits on the UK charts. Oh Carolina, 1993, Bombastic, 1995, It Wasn't Me featuring Rick Rock, 2001, and Angel featuring Rayvon in 2001. Reggae Facts was brought to you with the kind support of the Jamaica Association of Composers, Authors and Publishers, JCAP, valuing your musical creativity.
Today, we can report 2 consecutive years of reduction in major crimes and murders, with a significant reduction of almost 20% in murders for 2024. Between January 2022 and January 2025, we have reduced murders by 51%, and January 2025 had the lowest monthly murder count since September 2014. Our efforts have also resulted in the reduction of active gangs by 50%. We continue to increase firearm seizures, and in more communities, we are experiencing less violence. We will realize our vision of Jamaica as the place of choice to live, work, do business, raise families, and retire in peace and prosperity.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
DGLC, the regulatory body. We regulate, you play without worry. We regulate, you play. DGLC, fair play when you play. For the fun of the game, you know where they are. DGLC, keep it fair for the player. You play the game and we are the rules setter. Keep everything fair so the game play better. Betting, gaming and lotteries commission. We ensure fairness, integrity and responsible gaming practices. Keep the game fair and fun for everyone. We regulate, you play.
Yo, babes, why me I call you so much time and I not get you? Sorry, me lick you again yesterday. Yo, me know me mess up, but I can't wear them something there road and I expect me to react. I know me jealous and fool and easy to lose my temper, but call me back here.
Still not get tired.
Hey, girl, think me have to call your phone? You know who you deal with? You think I want to lick me again next time? Eh?
It doesn't have to be this way. You can leave an abusive relationship. Just call 876-553-0372. We will help you.
Su Dongpo, one of the most prominent figures in Chinese literary history, once said, "Up above, I can associate with the Jade Emperor of Heaven, and down below, I can associate with the poor folk. I think there is not a single bad person in this world." This not only reveals his philosophy on life, but also summarizes his attitude towards food. Among the large body of Su Dongpo's work, it's estimated there are over 1,200 pieces on the subject of food and dining. His reputation as a foodie is so renowned that many dishes are named after him. The most famous of them is Dongpo pork. The story goes that when Su Dongpo lived in exile in Guangzhou City, he discovered that there was plenty of high-quality pork available locally at very low prices. The reason was that the rich looked down upon this kind of meat, while the poor did not know how to cook it. The ingenious poet thought up the braised pork cooking method and recorded it in his poem, Ode to Pork. Today, in the poet's hometown of Meishan City, Sichuan province, Dongpo pork hock has become one of the most famous specialties. The meat for the hock must be taken from the hind legs, where it is firmest. Then the remaining fine hairs on the skin are burned off before it is scraped and cleaned. It is left to simmer for 3 hours. After simmering for hours, the broth soaks up collagen, which keeps the protein structure tight and the meat gradually loosens. A mixture of a dozen spices is then fried over a high heat to make the topping, which will give the meat a stronger and richer taste. The thick topping, melting skin and succulent meat completes the taste of this hefty dish. It's sure to entice even the most disciplined diner. Following the migrations of the poet, Dongpo cuisine made a name for itself across the country. Another classic, Dongpo fish, became the pride of the people of Meishan. When it comes to eating fish, the people of Sichuan have their own secret recipes. The flesh of long-snout catfish is tender with few bones, a favorite among diners both young and old. After cleaning, the scales and bones are removed, the fish sliced sideways and then scrubbed with scallion leaves to remove any fishy odor. Finally, it's finished with a special garnish. Meishan people always say that Dongpo fish owes its distinctive flavor to the pickles. The tradition of making pickles in Meishan dates back 1,500 years. Every household makes and eats its own.
40多年了，那时候又没得现在的菜丰富，早有泡菜就把饭吃了。
Cleaned vegetables are put in a cool and open place to dry. They are then soaked in pickled water to ferment and release the vegetable acid and umami taste. Fish meat is rich in protein and fresh in amino acid, which interacts with the salty sour pickles during the cooking process, producing an even richer and more layered flavor. Different pickled vegetables play their own unique role in the dish. Tender ginger helps to remove odors, cowpea balances the seasoning, while radish adds a crispy texture. Then there's diced pork belly, which adds to the meaty taste. The chef fries the diced pickles and pork belly, mixes in some seasoning, spreads them evenly over the fish, and steams it all in a steamer. After about 8 to 10 minutes, a delicious dongpo fish dish is ready to serve. The freshness of the fish meat and the tanginess of the pickled vegetables collide to create a uniquely complex flavor. It's a taste that Meishan natives, where they go. In his early 20s, full of hope and aspiration, Su Dongpo left Meishan for the capital city to take the imperial examination. Little did he know that his future career would be filled with setbacks and demotions. At the age of 60, he was once again demoted to Huizhou in the Lingnan region. In his time, the remote Lingnan region was mostly wildlands and was considered a primitive place. But Su Dongpo had a very different point of view. In a famous poem, he wrote, "With hundreds of lychees to eat every day, I could stay in Lingnan forever." The ever-optimistic poet found solace in local delicacies. Lingnan was extremely humid, which got even worse in winter. At Su Dongpo's age, finding something to warm his bones during those challenging winters was a top priority. He was delighted to discover just the dish at a banquet hosted by a friend. The name of the dish, gudong pot, comes from the sound